And welcome back to the next episode in the exciting and educating Kefir 101, how to make kefir, your first batch. So yesterday we talked about the very basics of getting your kefir from grain into the jar with some milk, how to store it, where to store it, temperature ranges. And temperature is just something I wanted to touch on again. I had an email about this last night. Obviously, the warmer the room, the quicker your kefir will ferment and be ready. If it's the middle of summer and you've got it in a really hot place, that could be as little as 12 hours. If it's in a room at sort of normal ambient temperature, dark place, 24 hours is the usual. If it's much colder than that, it could take longer. It will even ferment very slowly in the fridge, and I tend to, as I'm going to do now, I strain my kefir, I put it in the fridge, I screw a lid on, and it will very slowly ferment. And I like the fizziness, the zinginess that you get with kefir when it's become quite carbonated. So this was just another point I wanted to touch on as well. I talked to you yesterday about leaving your kefir with the lid off and a gauze of some sort, a breathable gauze or cloth over the top. And as I said, I usually just place the lid on like that. Now, you can ferment kefir in the first ferment with a lid on. The important thing with that is because of obviously the build-up of gas, you really need to make sure that you've left plenty of space at the top for gas to build up. This would have been absolutely fine. I would usually go no more than about half a jar full and screw the lid on, and then that allows the gas to build up without exploding the jar, which can happen. Now, if you do it with the lid on, a tight lid, sealed lid, you will get more of a carbonated product at the end. But again, as I said, you can do something like a second ferment. You can strain your kefir grains, you can put them back in a jar, put the lid on, put it in the fridge, or leave it out somewhere, and it will continue fermenting and become quite fizzy. But for today, we're going to look at just taking our first culture of grains from yesterday. We've just got them, taken them out the packet, put them in about 250 millilitres of milk. I'm now going to have a look, and these have been just over 24 hours, and something's starting to happen. Difficult to see because they're new grains, there's not a lot of them. We haven't got that very thick kefir yet that we want, that thin yogurt. But it will come, I promise you that. It takes just a few batches to build up a few more grains as they multiply, and also for them to become acclimatised to their new environment. If you use a different type of milk, it can make a difference. I use raw milk usually. For the grains that I'm selling at the moment, I'm using just a whole organic milk. But I've also got raw grains, water kefir going on. So lots and lots of things. So what you're going to need is you've taken this out of your cupboard, and you're just going to give it a little bit of a stir. Make sure nothing's stuck to the side, it shouldn't be. It's already getting that slightly yeasty fermented smell to it, which is fantastic. I would expect that within a few days of repeating this process, your grains will have started to multiply, they will have become acclimatised to the new environment, and you're starting to be getting one, thicker kefir, and two, as you strain day after day, you'll notice more of the grains in your sieve. So all we're going to do is we're going to take our milk, and you notice maybe from yesterday I've got a smaller sieve. And that's actually thickened up slightly. It's not as liquid as it was. So I'm now just using the back of my spatula and I'm literally just pushing the Kefir product through the sieve. Don't worry about pushing the grains through, they won't go through. And there we have it. I have my Kefir grains. I'm going to use the same jar and I'm not going to wash it up. All the product that's still left in here has got good beneficial bacteria from the Kefir. That's absolutely fine. You could, it would take longer, but you could just put milk in there and over a period of days it would create Kefir, but much better to go with the grains. It's much quicker. So I'm going to now just put my grains back in to the same jar. And just as a note on that, you can use the same jar I usually use it for about a week. If I get a lot of build up around the top, I'll sometimes just get a paper towel and wipe that out. But you don't need to be washing your jar up every single day. There's absolutely no need for that. Okay, so to start with, let's place that to one side. 250 millilitres of milk, 1 cup yesterday. I'm going to do the same again today. And I would suggest that you do this 3 or 4 days on the trot. So you're going to end up with about a cup of product, your actual Kefir drink, each day for 3 or 4 days. Then you can slowly start over a period of days and a week and a couple of weeks to do more at a time, you know, up to a litre. You can do more than a litre. You know, once you've got a lot of grains, you can do as much as you want, providing you've got a receptacle to put them in, to actually culture them in. So I'm now just going to pour my milk straight back over my grains. In this case, because I haven't got my chopstick handy, I'm going to give it a stir. Place that to one side. Now, as I said, usually I would just put a cloth, Hessian, a gauze of some sort, over the top, and that will be fine. As I mentioned, when you've got quite a low level of milk and Kefir in your jar, you can just screw the lid on. So for today, let's just do that, just to be different. I shall screw the lid on, and I didn't mean Hessian on the previous, I meant muslin, I just couldn't think of the word. So again, very small amount in the jar, or a big jar, and less than half. It's okay to screw the lid on. You'll get a fizzier, more carbonated drink. Otherwise, put a muslin or cloth or paper towel over the top, and it's still great. It's fantastic. It won't taste a lot different, but it just won't be quite as fizzy because the gas can escape. Right, so this is going to go back into the cupboard. But now we're going to just place our milk out the way as well. My strainer just here. And all I'm now going to do is just pour my, not so thick at the moment, it's thicker than milk though, it's thickened up, Kefir from day one into a jar. I'm going to put the lid on and I'm going to put that in the refrigerator. Once it's cooled, it's ready to drink. That'll be fine in the fridge. You could drink that tomorrow if you want to, and it'll be absolutely fine. And it may have fermented and got a little bit fizzier inside as well. Again, it's not full to the top, so I don't need to worry. And also, once you put it in the fridge in that cool environment, the fermentation process really slows down. So I've never had a problem putting, you know, a relatively full jar with a sealed lid in the fridge, no problem at all. So that is how to make Kefir 101. This is day 2 of making your Kefir product, and I would advocate that you do the same for the next couple of days, each day 24 hours later, remembering just to give your fermenting Kefir a stir, agitate it a couple of times for the best result. That's fantastic. Thank you very much. If you are in the UK and you want to purchase some Kefir grains, please just go via the link and have a look on my store. You'll be able to buy them there, and they're very reasonable, and I get them off to you in great condition and guarantee the product. But once you've started, you've got your first batch, you can make Kefir till your heart's content for years and years and years. So thank you very much for listening, and see you next time.